filter, no filter, no apologies. Strong women, real talk, no ceilings. We rise together, we say it loud.
3 words, most of us have said them hundreds, thousands of times. At work, at home, with friends, with our managers. We say them because we don't want to inconvenience anyone. We don't want to seem emotional. We don't want to look incapable. But here's the problem. Every time we say I'm fine when we're overwhelmed, overworked, or quietly burning out, we're teaching everyone around us that our capacity is unlimited. Today's conversation isn't about complaining. It's about recognizing that constantly saying yes isn't a sign of strength. It's often a sign we've been conditioned to believe our value comes from how much we can carry. Gosh, don't line with that. One of my favorite sayings is, it's fine, I'm fine.
Mm-hmm. And I told you, my daughter and I always do that line from Friends with Ross, where he's like, I'm totally fine. My voice is so high, but I think we all do it because I don't know about for you, but for me, it's saying, well, what's the point in not being fine, right? I still have to do what I have to do. I still have to go through this. I still have to get my kids to school. I still have to go to work today and perform. So yeah, I'm fine. Like, I'm fine. I'll be fine.
Yeah. And it's so funny because especially my last place of employment, the other directors would come up to me and be like, oh, I know, it's fine. It's fine. You'll figure it out. It's fine. When things go awry or whatever the case may be, but I would say, it's fine. We just move on. We make it work, whatever.
Yeah.
Try not to let the small things bring us down, right? And we take on more than we should. I mean,
I definitely agree with that. Or we go through things alone where maybe we don't have to. I know for me and a lot of people I know, I think you included, you don't want to be a burden on someone else because we all know everybody's going through something at some point, right? Everybody's dealing with stressors. Everybody's dealing with things at work, maybe at home, maybe whatever it might be. There's not a single person on this earth who's not dealing with something also. And so you go, I'm fine, because you're not going to burden someone else with what you have. But I think, and I've only learned this recently, it took me way too long, that when we do that, we actually block ourselves sometimes from receiving the empathy that we need, maybe the help that someone is in a position to help and does want to help you and says, hey, maybe I can't help with the stress that you have going on at home. You have a new baby, maybe you're caring for an elderly parent, whatever it might be. I can't help you there, but what I can help you with is I can split this project with you at work and take some of that workload off. I have some bandwidth right now. And when we say we're fine because we don't want to be a burden or maybe we don't want to be vulnerable, we actually block people who genuinely care and want to make it better from being able to do that and where we're not a burden. And I think that that's something was very hard for me to learn because I don't like to lean on other people or things like that. But I love to help other people. And I'm like, man, I'd be sad if somebody that I care about was carrying something really heavy and I could have taken a little bit off, but they told me they were fine. Yeah. And so I didn't know to ask, you know?
Yeah. I think a lot of the people around me will joke about it's fine, I'm fine, everything's fine. I have shirts that say that, like the little burning dumpster fire. It says, I'm fine. I have a planter that has that. So it's kind of a running joke within me and my friends and even previous work environments. But at the core, if something was really bothering me, I feel like you could see it on my face. Right. Yeah. So like the people that truly know me, that care about me would have insight. And then the other people that I don't really care about, they can know that it's fine. And I'll move on to somebody else and have somebody else care about it, Yeah. Because I don't want the empathy from them because they probably caused whatever is happening to happen.
Right. But then I also think an interesting point you made, you said something about workload, and it just made me think that when you keep saying you're fine, it also puts you in a position to keep, especially at work, receiving more workload. Yeah. Because if you say you're fine, and then your boss keeps giving you work, or they say, okay, help out in this project, and you keep saying, yeah, okay, it's fine, you're going to burn out, and nobody's going to know because you didn't take those opportunities to say, actually, I have too much on my plate right now.
Yeah.
And I can't take that on. Or if you want me to take that on, we've got to push some other deadlines back.
Yeah.
You know, I know I don't ever like to say I can't do something. It makes me feel weak, right, wrong, or indifferent. But I have had to sit with previous bosses of mine and say, you've given me 30 top priorities. Which one's actually the top? I give you 5. And then let's rework the rest of these deadlines. And I'll get them all done, but we've got to talk about this. And it put me in a position of power, put them in a position of power to move things around. But if we just say we're fine and keep taking it on, it's no good for anybody, especially you as the individual.
Yeah, and it goes back to the boundaries, right? Because by saying it's fine, you're really not putting up any boundaries, right? So when you're getting all of these projects and you have expectations that they're going to be delivered, but realistically they're not going to be delivered, if you don't reset those expectations, you're only going to fail yourself and the person that your deadlines are set for, or those expectations and projects are for. I know for me, I previously asked for more work because I didn't feel that I had enough work on my plate and I could run projects, do whatever the case may be. And I was told, oh, okay, we'll think about that. You need somebody to step in and manage these things because they're not being managed, because communication isn't happening properly. So when I'm really offering to help you and the business, and we'll think about that. Okay.
But okay, let's look at that just from a different perspective. Here you are offering to take more on because you have capacity.
Yeah.
But are other people saying they're fine?
Maybe.
And so then leadership is going, okay, well, you have bandwidth, but everybody's fine. So I don't have anything to give you. Do you see what I'm saying? So these are things that if you're the person saying I'm fine, you're unaware of this bigger picture too. If you're the leader and your team says I'm fine, you're like, great, I don't have to worry about that. And then what'll happen is Rebecca might get put on a new project. Meanwhile, these other projects might miss deadlines, or somebody's considering leaving because they're overwhelmed, and you don't know that because everybody's just saying they're fine.
Yeah. Yeah. I also think that it's fine, I'm fine comes from a lack of psychological safety within your team or your business, right? Because you don't trust the person enough to be able to say, I'm not fine, right? Or this is what's bothering me. And I think especially, and I know we've talked about this previously, right? In this job market and with the threat of layoffs and everything else that's happening, nobody really wants to admit that they're overworked. Nobody wants to admit that they can't take on more. And so ultimately they're setting themselves up for failure by taking on more and not setting the boundaries and expectations in a realistic way.
Yeah, I've actually heard that from a number of people recently, where it's obviously when layoffs take place, the remaining team takes on more. And then they're afraid to express that, hey, this is starting to become too much, because then they could be in the next round of layoffs. And so I've actually coached a few people now on just how to reframe that.
Yeah.
And to say, almost like I said to you just now, to say, hey, we can get all of this done, but with the extra workload, I think we need to shift around some timelines or resources, and let's have a conversation about that. Because that's not an I can't, I won't, because if your company's going through layoffs, everybody's feeling that. Your leadership is feeling it. So there's a little bit, I think, of a lack of empathy where everybody's like, who cares? We're all in the same boat, and they don't want to hear you complain. But if you come and say, it can get done, I think we just need to regroup and talk about how does it get done with these limited resources. You're now looking like a solutions-oriented person and not a complainer, and you're not saying things can't get done. You're saying, hey, let's figure out a better way to do it. So there is a way to reframe that if you're afraid of saying, I'm not fine, I'm not okay. You can definitely reframe it in a constructive way to protect yourself if you're afraid.
Yeah, I think the other piece of that too is if people aren't comfortable having those conversations, because depending on the leadership style of the person that they report to, they may not be comfortable having those conversations, right?
Yeah.
That could also be seen as, a quick way to exit themselves out, that they will just start looking for a new opportunity and say, okay, I can't do this anymore. And so they quietly do what they have to do at work. But then on the flip side, they're looking for their next opportunity so they can get out of where they are.
100%. Or sometimes it leaks out of you anyway when you're not okay, but you don't tell people. I just had someone sharing a story with me where they're the kind of person that is usually fine through everything. They'll figure it out. But they were transitioning from one job in a company to another job in the company.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's that time where you're kind of doing dual roles. And they were doing dual roles. And in the middle of it, somebody did something really inconsiderate to them. And they snapped back at them. Again, not super unprofessionally or anything, but they snapped back.
Yeah.
And a leader was there and saw it, right? And now they were warranted in why they snapped back. But it was so out of character for this person. Luckily, one of the leaders who saw it said, let's go out to lunch today. And took them out to lunch and said, what's going on? And this isn't you. And there was this ability to sort of share, here's what's going on. And there was a resolution to that, right? So hopefully you're in a good company where somebody recognizes, hey, even though you're telling me you're okay, I can clearly see you're not, because that was out of character for you. But if you're not in a safe organization like that, you could have the reverse where it leaks out of you. And now you've got somebody, you're getting written up by HR or something because your reaction wasn't appropriate. Yeah, you get something like that. So
worst case scenario, you end up getting fired, especially in Florida,
Right.
because it's an at-will state. And
if you're lucky, you're in a good organization who sees, and again, this person didn't react in a way that was unprofessional. It was just out of character. But if it's worse, your reaction is worse, then you run the risk of then losing your job because you didn't take a moment to figure out how to explain, how to communicate, how to say, I'm not okay, and be okay with that.
Yeah. And I know we've both seen this, and I think we've both experienced it. As women, we tend to take things on because we want to be reliable. We don't want to be seen as weak, as what you said previously, right? We want to be seen as reliable and competent. And if we say no to something, then it can have the opposite effect on us and our own perception, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so then you burn out anyway, right? You end up burning the candle at both ends, as you would say. You always say, if you don't take care of yourself first, you're no good to anybody else.
Yes, you can't take care of the people that you care about. And I will tell you, as much as I've said that, it's also a lesson I've had to learn, because I'll probably share with you, a big turning point in my life was the loss of my mom. But if you look at the moment where I lost my mom, I was also starting a new business and stepping into a new life as an entrepreneur, stepping into a new life as a daughter without parents, and stepping into a new life as a parent of children who were growing older. I'm getting to the empty nest stage, sort of, right? Yeah. All three of these transitions were happening all at once. So many beautiful moments in there, which almost make you question. You're like, I'm fine. Look at how blessed I am. Look at how fortunate I am. Look at all of these great things I have. But then at the same time, I'm scared. I'm grieving. I'm trying to navigate entrepreneurialism for the first time. And I remember there was a moment where I had to go to my husband and say, I'm not okay.
Yeah.
And I need help. And I had so much going on in my mind at once that I was almost paralyzed on everything. And I just needed to talk through it with somebody. And because I wasn't the kind of person who liked to ask for help with anything, it was so difficult for me to, and this is my husband, this is my person, he's ride or die for me. And I couldn't even go to him and be like, hey, I am struggling. I'm trying to be everything to everyone. And I still got some grief going on in here that I can't quite figure out. And thank God he sat with me for 2 weeks straight and was like, Ari, I'm going to take some of this off your plate at home. I'm going to help you get over this particular hump in your business. And I'm just going to be a listening ear for you with the other things that you have going on, because he's also grieved the loss of his mother. And but it took way too long for me to feel in my own self to say, I'm not okay. And I have the most loving, supportive friend, family group.
Right.
It was strictly a me thing. And so I think for people who are out there who find themselves in those boats where you're like, I've got all the support around me in the world, but I never want to be a burden on anybody. I never want to admit weakness, you know?
Yeah.
It took 2 weeks for me to get out of that because I went to someone who cared about me and said, yeah, I'm not all right. I just realized it today that I'm not okay. Like I can't, you know, I don't know what the hell to do here. Get out of my own way. So I think it's difficult for people who are especially high performers, high achievers, or people who are the head of household, right? If you're the head of household and you run all the business of your home, it's hard for you to ask for help or say that you're not okay too.
Yeah. And I know, like, historically, that's how it's been within my partnership, right? Always have been the breadwinner and the one to provide and just run the ship. Always been the captain of my ship. And now, in losing my job last year and switching to run my own business, things are very different. And I'm fine. But I also have personal things going on with family members that are a little chaotic too. And so I think having someone, like, having the roles reversed for a little bit too, the partner becomes a little bit more empathetic and they can read you. Because I know this past week have had Christian was like, I see what's happening here and I'm going to help you. And I was like, oh, okay. And so that's nice, right? That you have, and like I said before, I have people in my life that can typically tell when things aren't right. It's written on my face. But so a support system is always good for the I'm fine people.
It is. It's really funny that you say that about him because my husband did the same thing where he was like, you know, I've seen it. I've seen you going through it, but you're Katy and you're I'll figure it out. I'll be fine. I'll figure it out. I got this. Don't worry about it. I'll figure it out. And he's like, so I've always respected that in our relationship. I've respected you not wanting me to overstep because you're like, what are you doing? I don't need to be saved. I'm good. So for you to be like, I think I'm not okay. I think I need a little help. And my situation was with my parents, and I'm going to share just a little bit about like grief here when you lose your parents. My dad was the one who would be like, you're great, you're awesome, you could do anything, right? But he, even to the point where you're like, okay, chill, I'm good. Like he'd be like, you should be running that company. I'm like, all right, let's calm down. But then at the same time, he was the one who would come and be like, what are you doing? Get your head out of your ass. You got to go do da-da-da-da. Like, what are you sitting on your hands for? He was that like really tough love kind of fire in your belly, get you going when you needed to in a very raw way. My mom was more of the, hey, you can do this. I know you can do it. Work the problem. What do you need to think through? What do you need to talk through? Like she was more of the soft heart. So having lost my dad, who is more of what I respond to, that like, go, you know, what are you doing? I just need people to sometimes hit me with a stick and be like, what are you doing? And be like, you're right. I got this. And then also losing my mom, who would be like, you can struggle through this, but you got to keep going. Let's work the problem. Losing both of them, I don't think I realized that the reason I couldn't get through this little hump was because I knew they didn't exist in the world anymore. And somewhere in the back of my mind, I always said I'm fine because I knew that one of them was there. And when they were both gone, I think my body and my brain realized it in some hidden compartment, like we're not good. But the rest of me was like, nope, this is my life. I'm fine.
If you stop moving, you'll die. So yes.
Yes, exactly. So I kept on moving, but I think I was running in circles for a little bit of going, like I said, it was more specific to the entrepreneurial journey I was on at the time, where I was building, and I needed to move into a different layer of business. And I could not get out into that hump for whatever reason, into that new circle. And that's where I had to go to my husband, like, yeah, I'm good. And I don't really know what's stopping me. I don't know why I'm hitting this brick wall or why I'm running in this circle, but I just need somebody to trip me and then be like, hold on, before you start running again, where are you going? Let me point you in the right direction and help you keep going, you know? So I hope that helps some listeners too, that even when you're tough, even sometimes you don't even recognize that you're not fine, but you know something's off and you don't know why. And it just takes a minute to dissect it.
It might take a little longer than a minute, but it's okay.
Yeah, it definitely took me longer than a minute.
So one of the pieces of research that came up when preparing for this episode was that Harvard Business School research found women are more likely than men to volunteer for non-promotable tasks that benefit the organization, but do little to advance their own careers. And so I know you and I have talked about this in the work environment previously, because we would do all these things and have all these accolades and achievements within our department or within a specific area of the business, but then never promote ourselves or do anything so that other people saw it so that it could lead to promotion.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was taking on more responsibility, taking on more tasks, still meeting deadlines, but doing it quietly. And I think, as we've discussed, we want to cause disturbance to shake things up and change. And I think that women need to be better self-promoters in order
100%.
to continue to create that disturbance.
And I think that that's an internal disturbance too, right? So when I'm listening to you talk about that, like how women take on more non-promotable tasks than men, some of that is societal conditioning, right? We want to volunteer. We want to be helpful. Some of it might be, I like those little projects. They're a distraction from the workload that I have. Some of it might just be, these are safe, but putting myself out there on a new project or idea would get me promoted, but it's a risk. And as women, we tend to be a little more risk averse than men in the workplace. It doesn't matter the reason, it's just what we happen to be. And so then we convince ourselves that we're fine with the fact that we've taken on these tasks because we are doing extra things, right? We are being helpful, but really inside I want more for my career. And maybe I don't want to face the fact that I keep going for these safe tasks instead of taking my energy, having that boundary and going, no, I'm going to put my energy into this project that is going to get me more visibility, more recognition, and potentially promotion. So it's really interesting that study.
Yeah. Did you ever find that you became indispensable in doing the wrong things?
I'm sure I did. Actually, I don't know that I became indispensable, but I think I started saying yes to too many things that had nothing to do with my role because I was seen as one of the only people who could get it done.
Right.
And maybe reflecting back on it, that might have felt good for my ego, right? Where, I'm the person who can get it done. So I'm taking on all these things that really shouldn't be under my purview, but I can get them done. And look how awesome I am. And also, I'm a lifelong learner. So anything that forces me into something uncomfortable, I kind of get excited about that. Yeah. But I think I lost sight of what was really going to push me forward. Yeah. And instead, I was doing all of these things that, I was learning. And yes, I was seen as a person who could get it done. But it didn't help me advocate for myself, and it didn't help me push the needle on the things that really should have been my primary focus. So I could see that. How about you?
Yeah. Yes and no, right? I mean, obviously I was dispensable, but I think there are definitely things that I said yes to that weren't within my wheelhouse or purview. But to your point, I saw it as a challenge and wanted to take it on. And there's things that I myself into to do as well, because like I said, I didn't have enough work. And so in order to keep myself busy, I'd be like, do you need help? What can I help you with? What are you doing? What's happening? Right. And so, in a sense, right, became indispensable in areas of the business that didn't necessarily have me to begin with. And, and then when I was gone, they all had to figure it out on their own.
Well, isn't that what always happens? I try to tell people all the time that a business will go on without you. It has to. It doesn't matter if you resign, if, God forbid, somebody passes away. The reality is the business isn't human. It's an entity, and it has to keep going. The machine has to keep going. And so you also have to keep going for you, for your life, for your health. and not take that part personally. And also, you can't expect the business to take it personally when you have to move on for you. They're going to figure it out and you're going to figure it out because life goes on. The business goes on and life goes on for you, and you got to just figure it out and navigate through it.
Yeah. I know in the moment it doesn't feel that it's personal or, business decisions, but
I do think that's really hard. And, we talked about this, I think, on our Gen Z episode where they see it through a different filter than those of us who are older millennials or Gen X even, where I think Gen Z sees the transaction of it now.
Yeah.
And not the counter investment that I think we were propositioned with, that the company invests in you and you invest in them. And it's more of a business deal. It's, yes, the company invests in you and you have to deliver a certain thing. And that's where that relationship ends. And that's okay.
Yeah.
But when you give so much of yourself to something, it's hard to not feel like it's personal. It is very personal to you when you come here every day and you work hard and you try new things and you perform at a high level. So it's a very difficult thing to navigate, to create those boundaries and remind yourself, hey, at the end of the day, this is a business transaction. I have to remember that and keep myself at the forefront.
Yeah. And I know earlier on, in our earlier episodes of the podcast, we talked about the likability trap that women face, right? And I've seen it firsthand that women tend to choose between being liked and being respected. And I know you and I have had this conversation. I'd rather be respected than liked because I don't care if you like me or not, but I want you to respect what I can deliver and bring to an organization. And I think speaking of generations, as we progress and people evolve, I do think that's where Gen Z is a little bit different too. Cause I also feel like they don't necessarily want to be liked. They want to come in and do their job. I don't know if they care about being respected at this point, because I don't know. I haven't looked at any of the research on that. But where it is a business transaction, I think is where they draw the line, because I've seen older generations want to be liked. So I've seen the two-faced behavior. I've seen you say one thing in one meeting and then go into another meeting and say, oh, no, we're not doing that, right? Because you want to be liked. That doesn't make any sense to me, because then I just don't understand.
I think there's two sides to that coin, right? Because who doesn't want to be liked? I would love to walk into every room and be liked by everybody. That would be a great feeling. That would be amazing. I've accepted the reality that that's not the case. To some people, I'm like a shot of vinegar, and to some people, I'm like a shot of camphor. And having to learn that likability is cool when it happens, but you're right. I'd rather walk into a room and say, there's some people in here who really like me. There are some people who don't like me, but they respect me because I deliver results, and they can at least respect that. And I told you I was fortunate enough to learn in a business environment what it was like to work with someone where we didn't like each other. We just didn't like each other. We just had very different leadership styles. We just didn't like each other. But man, we were productive as a team, and it was undeniable. And we had a tremendous amount of respect for each other. And like I said, I feel fortunate that I learned that in my very early 20s and could apply that later in life. But I think if you don't have that now, take a pause and look at the people that you don't like and say, but can I respect them? Are there things that they do here that are really respectable that I can focus on that and not necessarily my distaste for them as a person?
Yeah.
But I do think, just to the I'm fine saying, you said something earlier and I just wanted to kind of put it together. You talked about boundaries and you talked about saying you're fine and taking on the additional workload. I think every time you say I'm fine when you're not, you're teaching people that your limits don't exist.
Yeah.
Because they don't know. We touched on that. But if you say I'm fine, then your limits that you actually have don't exist. And people are going to keep on giving you things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So.
And as we wrap up, going back to what you said, if you are being asked to do more within your organization, talk to your leader or whoever's asking you to do the work and let them know that you do want to take this on, but what are the priorities now? Because you want to be able to deliver on everything that you're given, as opposed to not delivering on your 25 things that you have going on.
Right. And I think too, when I tried to touch on this, just to echo that, is if you're not fine personally,
Yeah.
that can spill over into your work. So think about the people who are closest to you, that you do have, that you do trust, and go to those people and just have the open conversation, because the people who love you will be like, yeah, I see it. And actually, as I'm saying that and you're nodding, I'm just thinking about the email I sent you the other day. I sent you an email, and when we met to talk about it, you were like, I could feel your panic through the email. So I just took care of ABC. And sometimes it's as simple as that, as a person going, and again, this is in a much less deep version of I'm not fine, right? It was I sent you a professional email about things we're working on, and you were like, I could tell you're not fine. I'm going to fix this real quick. And I'm going to tell you I fixed it, and we're going to talk about it. And it's go to those people who know you, who you trust, who could go, let me just take this off your plate, and then we'll handle that. So I think don't be afraid to go to the people that you know and trust, who know and trust you, and just say, I'm not fine. And I think I need just a little bit of help. I need to talk through it maybe and figure it out.
Yeah. The goal isn't to do less, right? It's to spend the time doing the work that actually reflects your talent, your goals, and the life you're trying to build.
Here's a great place to end.
Yeah. And so make sure you like and subscribe and tell all your friends. Follow us on all your socials, NFNA Podcast. Until next time.